Hello everyone, Master0101 here, and in this video we just picked back up from yesterday where we left off making this particular actuator, and we'll just go ahead and slap some base materials on it before we begin the breakdown process. So first I'll select everything and we'll Alt-M, hit it with a blank material, and you know how I work by now. I just give everything materials just based off of their identification areas, and then from there I can get more specific with things. So everything right now we're just uniquifying it, and then we'll double back and we'll make things look more chrome or more painted car paint or whatever the case is that's required. We'll also make this one chrome as well, and we have a few pieces we forgot. Let's go ahead and get those. We will give this and this, let's see, all of these will need possibly a unique material. I'm looking at it, it looks rather matte. For this one we'll give it a unique material. Everything's just getting a unique material. I know, kind of overkill, but it happens. So another thing is that post the first video I was looking at it, and this piece on the side was just kind of a curiosity. I was looking at it, I was like, what shape is that? It's not quite defined. So let's just go in and attempt to make that shape happen. So I'm just going to select this edge, control click to here, start it short, stop it short, and we're just doing the same thing. From here, if we press Control B, we will just bevel it. And we don't want to bevel it too much. Like, it really should actually be a very subtle bevel, at least in my opinion. Who knows? For all I know, I'm probably modeling this thing all wrong. But we're just getting in here, just trying to cool off of subdivision month. But to me, I just look at subdivision as an alternative auditor for your mesh compared to, say, bevel. I can model for bevel, or I can model for sub D, or I can model for both. I mean, not as a bragging thing, just saying literally in 3D modeling with Blender and the modifiers, these are your options, or at least that I've found, is that you can either set up your geometry to be well done with the bevel, or you can have it be behaving well with subdivision. And in our case, and the thing is that with subdivision, it adds exponentially more geo as you use it. So eventually, if you have your subdivision too high, then the bevel's just going to throw a hissy fit because there's just too much geometry, and so it's just going to hit up against it and push it in a nasty way. However, on that note, it is something that I mentioned to Howard, and he said that someday he wants to take that issue on. So that's as optimistic as it gets for some sort of change happening in that regard. But if the day ever comes where Blender's able to push the geometry and then add a bevel, we're talking about a really powerful bevel. So if we Alt V and we get out of the wireframe, we see that now that piece is there, but it probably could be better. And the version I did after the first recording, I ended up grabbing these parts, even though I know it's a little weird, and we're just going to move it in just to make it a little bit more exaggerated. So it's something like that. And we could fight for more accuracy on this top area, try to get this part to terminate sooner, but really it's not worth all the battle. But we are going to select these rings and just grow our selection, and let's control click curve extract in order to make this into its own mesh. And we want this to share the same material as these. I don't know why I'm doing this. Probably for the bake. I think I'm going to enhance the details of this a little bit, because what we're baking is literal nonsense. And so setting it up like we are and then baking without any details being added is just a waste. And we might as well just put some little random breaks in the surfaces and things like that, just so we have a little beauty happening with it. Because like I showed in the orange piston, we want to get a little artistic with things and just have some fun. If we try to be completely adherent, it's no fun for anyone. So with this button on the side, I'm just going to select these three, Control+++, and I'm going to say that this is the same color as this piece. So what is this? Material 02. So we'll just make it material 02, and we're good to go. So this thing also should be chrome. Sorry, wrong hotkey. Control L. We want to, wrong order. We want to select this and then this. Control L, link materials in order to link these to that. And just looking at this piece in the middle, I'm not entirely sure what I'm seeing happening here, but I do have this urge to just add a ring cut in the middle. And I might just do it, you know, because it's nothing. With subdivision, it's just loops for accountability, and then your damage, and then you're done, and you've added that detail. So subdivision modeling is nothing more than a discipline, but good luck trying to get every shape you ever aspire to using just one style of modeling, which is why I seek to learn a few more, because, you know, one way just can't do it. In fact, I'm beginning to open up to the idea of transferring normals. Just kidding, but I'm always pondering it. Another thing is I just feel like one of these is over there, but we have no proof of it. So the other thing is we should probably slap a decal that looks like that down. So I am going in the VPF kit, Vertex Polyfort, VPF Vertex Polyfort. All right. And he has some great labels for what we need. You know, absolute accuracy, get out of here. But a label that's just a bunch of characters and nonsense to just indicate our authority, yeah, I'll party with it. So let's just try projecting it, and we get something like that, and then we look at it in the render, and this is what we're looking at. So we're nowhere near what we actually want with our materials, but we are in a good starting point. So we can select this, shift click material scroll. Let's try that again. Let's make sure we're on the right material. Shift click material scroll, and we're just going to scroll until we get something that's a little matty. You know, I'm not going to get too intricate on the Blender side, since we're also going to be probably sending this over to substancePainter after we break it down. But we can at least get the viewport materials to be just a little bit more in the vicinity. We also do not want clear coat on this, because this one I'm seeing to be pretty rough, which is pretty cool. This one is our next one. Let's shift click material scroll. We probably didn't even need to scroll, so we probably could have got the one that we were looking at where we needed it, but we want something without metallicity, and something like that would actually suffice. We just make it darker. You know, first we game the roughness with the first roughness, and then I feel that this one could benefit from some clear coat in order to get it to be really shiny like what we're seeing. And then we just begin dragging the color down, and we're in business. And you know, as I'm watching this video, I'm listening to Dio live in the background. I'm just a big fan of his live performances. It really sounds like he enjoys having fans, which I can connect with. I definitely enjoy people who enjoy my content. So shout out to those who are watching this and have been watching all of this content. So looking at this in the picture, I would say that that's metallic, you know, just kidding. I can't tell anything from this image, but we are going to try to assume something like that. And this part is already chrome, so I'm just going to scale this in. And I don't like how this piece can barely be seen, so I'm going to just select these two edge loops. We'll press H and hide it. Select these two, and we're going to scale on everything but the Y. So S, Shift, and Y to bring it in, and we got something like that. So a little exaggerated, but you know, zoomed into the image, we could definitely see it, and now zoomed into mine, we can also see it. But don't look at my result too close, or else you'll see that I am not the most accurate modeler, but I try my best, you guys. It's a struggle, but you know, with practice, I do feel myself getting better and better at dealing with images. Like, you know, whenever I'm not recording, I'm trying out some pretty interesting stuff. Just trying to get better because, like I said, you know, I got to stay ahead. and practice is my only hope. So let us go back into the render, and we are just cooking. But these wires, we don't need any metallicity. I'm not actually familiar with Dio's entire line of music, so I always find out a little more that, you know, I was just born in the wrong era. However, I would have probably died of drug overdose in the 80s or something. And for these, they can all be metal, but I really do want to just shift-click EM macro and try adding some additional details, you know, stuff that ain't even going to show up. But we are lucky enough that we linked all of our object data. So we modify one, we modify them all. However, for our installation, we probably do want to reveal a little bit more, because this is not going to do. So something like that. Let's hide it and just take a look at what we have. And this is not this color. This one's more of a matte black, definitely not metallic at all. You know, I feel bad every time I go into the dark side of the dark side of town, dark side of the neighborhood, and the dark side of town. You know, it just gets so dark over there. You know, I remember in one Blender book I read, they were like, never make something absolutely black. And so I just remember that stuff. All right, let's pull out, look at what we have, and you know, we could probably press Alt-VV and press V to turn off the visualization of the background and just begin scrolling through our lookdev environments until we find one that's good. So a lot of strange ones in here, and I feel like the best one we actually already strolled past, but it happens. Also, I see that a lot of these I'm going to need to go back and really inspect it. For this piece, you know, I'm just looking at it thinking, you know, what if we gave it just a little bit of reflectivity, but I just don't see it. You know, I'd be lying to you guys. And also, what's this thing doing in the realm of metallic? It is definitely not that. And, you know, you turn off the metallicity, you realize this thing is definitely a little bit darker. It's almost in the realm of the blue, but we don't want to go too deep in it, or else people will see our blue die. And I just feel the urge to slap more decals down. You know, you ever get that? You ever just have a hankering in your stomach? You're like, I need to hit this thing with some decals right now. You know, fight those urges or take them on. You know, either way, can't go wrong. So I am going to bring a loop across. I know, real messy stuff, but we're just going to turn this into a circle, maybe scroll down our segments to something reasonable. That's not reasonable. One more down. There we go. Oh man, one more. There we go. Perfect. You know, subdivision, it will just make everything slower, but I'd just be lying. Yeah, I would be afraid to try making a full project with this thing, with subdivision being involved, because, you know, it just gives me all the memories of the past of all the times that, you know, my computer was just brutalized, either in a call center. You know, in a call center, I used to have tricks in Blender I would do to just make the computers choke. It's like, sorry, ma'am, we're having a system issue on our side. Can't find your account information. But go ahead and tell me what lights are on your modem. You know, that'll stall for time all the time. I'm telling you guys. Like, if I was training you guys for call center work, I would say, what do you say when you have nothing to say? You ask what lights are on the modem. You know, you put the ball in the customer's court. You know, I need to know what lights are on the modem. You know, get them out of the room. You know, you need a second to breathe. So, what lights are on the modem? Also, we want to add some blank lights to this, but we have a lot going on here. So I'm just going to select this object, and we are going to click on Manage, which will unify. That means that we can just delete that whole collection. We can begin consolidating everything into this, which is basically the high. So high, and we'll make a new collection, but we'll make it in the actual outliner and not inside of another collection. And this one will be our SCN file. And I'm just going to Shift A, add a plane. And, Dio says don't talk to strangers, alright? So, that thing is still a saying now, except everybody's talking to strangers. Stranger gang. Stranger danger gang, at this point. Shift S, origin to selection, which means when we scale it, it'll scale from the base. And I'm just going to slap a bevel on this. It doesn't even matter if we do it non-destructively or destructively. And we'll remove any markings. We'll make it a little more matte. And we are already on frame 1. So that means in this layer, let's make sure we can see our 3D cursor, because we turned all the extras off, which just me being mean. But I do like having the ability to turn my extras off, because it be getting in the way sometimes. Like, I've been trying to present this stuff, and I don't always want the 3D cursor visible, because it's just irrelevant. And just like that, we put our camera and our empty into the wrong area. So let's put it in the right one. And let's grab our empty. We're just going to move it down, scale it. We're just having fun at this point. We're pretty much done with this first process of just configuring our cells for a render. Except we do need to get it to look nice. So now, at least when we start rotation, it begins from this point. We can take this plane, and by holding shift when we drag it, we can actually parent it as well. So now we'll get something like that happening, where we at least have our background just pursuant to our camera. Just good for us. Oh man, I accidentally saved over my other file, sorry. We actually want to call this 6_2. I just overwrote my file from yesterday. I'm trying to not do that. And with this label, we're going to ignore what we're seeing in the reading, but we do want to put it metallic. There we go. So next thing is pressing Alt VB. Alright, back in business. So we are just going to select our collection that we actually want to be in. We're just going to press Alt VB and just begin scrolling through some blank light configurations till we find one that really gets us. I've been looking at some reds a lot lately. However, something a little more neutral might do us best for this. So really liking this one because of the reflection it's offering. However, having one of our lights impact the background means that we should probably move it. And I'm just going to take this light empty and also parent it, so that way we have a consistent lighting setup also going along with us whenever we rotate it. So we could leave it, but then it would actually be more apparent that the stage is being rotated. So it's a lot easier just for everyone this way. Another thing is looking at the back. The back that we did is so basic. I gotta stop that. I got an urge in my bones, you guys. Like whenever I see just blank areas, just big flatty blanks, I gotta get in there. I gotta do something. So I mean, since this is a somewhat realistic object, we can't go box city on this thing, but we can press I, press B, give this a nice inset loop, give one loop of perimeter protection, one loop just pushed inwards, just for something like that. And then we could always let's try that one more time. I'm going to inset that one more time. And we're just pressing Alt S and just pushing things in. And with that, we can continue working. So let's just enable layer 1, layer 2, and we'll jump back to lookdev mode. And this is what we're looking at. So for the background, we probably want to make it maybe darker. We could also make it more reflective, but then we start seeing a lot more. So really that's unnecessary. We want it to be as minimal on the distraction as possible. The other thing is that I see some details not appearing on the other side. So we can select both of these, select this, Alt X, press A to add a new mirror modifier, and then we click the axis we want to keep, which will place them on the other side. So with that, we are now looking pretty good. You know, was able to just jump to the high poly result within 20 minutes. So not a whole lot of struggle there. And with that, we can wrap this video up, and I thank everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. However, I do want to remove this part that I added just because I know that I want to just see what the back of this actually looks like, and I'm sure this is a lot cooler than what I'm doing, and I think that we can do something more interesting with this in substancePainter whenever we actually export the low version. So we don't want to add anything that will actually take away from the shape. However, I do have the urge to, you know, put a loop here, add a loop here, place a loop in between, and just Alt S push and just see how that looks. And of course it'll just look great, but you know, that's me just being extra, and I kind of fight those urges. We can actually do a second iteration where we take it much farther, but this will be a better place to stop at least for now when it comes to making this particular object. Another thing that I love about rendering is being able to go under the color settings, and besides being in Filmic, changing my look to something like medium contrast, and then just adjusting the exposure and the gamma to get things to look just a little bit better. Of course, we can also bring in curves for more fine adjustment, but just getting in and just adjusting the exposure and the gamma can do a lot for just helping it look a little bit better. Like for example, I still feel that I should pop it up just a little bit just in case my monitor's calibration is off. And we could even begin messing with our background plane, which right now is just a whatever color. And you see how it still has a degree of brightness to it. If we start turning down the specular, we could really begin to get it to be as dark as we need it to, and then just get in and just start playing with the roughness to make it even more diffuse. So now we have it, the object at least just popping a little bit more from the background. And our lighting setup is just one of these randomly generated lighting rigs, meaning that we can still go in even at this point, of course, save our file, press Alt VB, and just begin scrolling through alternative setups until we find one that suits us. So this one actually is also quite nice. Sometimes I just scroll and just run into just combinations that I really love, and of course we can always save and reload our presets. And this one's really cool too because it has a bit of a Terminator happening with the background plane, but I'm looking at this reflection happening on this big cylinder in front of me too, and you know, that one just speaks to me. So let's go back to frame 1 and we let it play, and I don't like it as much in motion, but it does have a really interesting look to it. So just showing how you can still get in there and play with blank light to find alternative combinations. Let's press Alt VB. We could probably fall in love again. Oh man, just some hot orange, you just can't deny that. So let's let it turn, and that one actually looks a little bit cooler, except for all of the shadows kind of going a little wayward. So for that, I think that we can actually scale up our background plane, which will make it terminate even further into the background, and then whenever it rotates, it's a lot more isolated. And so for each of the lights, we could also get in and begin fine-tuning them. In fact, we see one is sitting just a little bit too close to the ground and possibly isn't even facing our object correctly because of where our 3D cursor is. So I'm going to just place it here, and let's also snap our cursor there, so if we bring up the light scroll again, we can continue to have it track in the same place. But generally, whenever you begin scrolling through blank lights, it'll use the 3D cursor as the area that it generates the rig from. So now let us turn it off, or turn off viewport visualizations and play it back, and it's definitely looking a lot better. In fact, the one that we had before that we rejected probably also would have looked better, except that we didn't notice that it was sitting in the wrong place. So alright, I kind of went on a little extra in this, but I'll just stop for now and we'll come back when it comes to downpacking this.